All right. Welcome to this 22nd episode of the Warrior Week podcast, Parable from the Pit. My guest, Travis Rosser. Travis Rosser, graduate of Warrior Week 22 and Warrior Week 43. What's up, man?
Hey, thank you for having me on here. Is it really your 22nd episode?
This is the 22nd
and
episode.
I got my 22 shirt on. Warrior Week 22.
Oh, shit. I didn't notice. Well, that's a legit intro. Gentlemen, sit back, relax, and watch the show. All right, so we are back with Travis. Travis, dude, we're going to roll back and we're going to talk about the history of Travis and Garrett kind of way and the conversation of Warrior and you being aware of it. And then, boom, Warrior Week 22 happened like almost a couple of years back. But this goes way, way back, right?
Yeah.
And you've been part of broadcasting. You've been part of the system that helped us broadcast the message of Warrior.
Yeah.
And without you, like you as an individual, and your creation, what you've created, we would have not been able to actually expand and grow and deliver the message up to today to many, many places as we're doing. So we're going to talk about that for the audience to understand what I mean by that. But let's roll back and let's talk about specifically your first encounter with Garrett and the conversation of Warrior, man.
All right. So, yeah, you're talking about a software that you guys use. I'm the co-founder of this company called Kajabi. And Garrett had some videos out there way back. I think in 2012 was the first time I ever saw Garrett. Like a lot of us talk about seeing Garrett online. Well, back then, I was inside of the Kajabi system just looking at videos that were coming through, and then I saw this guy just yelling, fuck and ah. And he was in a room that had bricks behind it. Have you ever seen those old videos with the
I've seen those.
flip charts?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I couldn't turn away. Like I couldn't, just like everybody says, you see Garrett and he just speaks to your soul. And even back then, I was like, who is this guy? Then I realized he's in Kajabi, so I go and I look deeper into Kajabi, and I see some of his stuff, and I realize he's talking to men. And he's talking raw with clarity and strength, and it was just so appealing to me. And this is 2012. So right around that same time, I think it was 2013, I go to an event. It was a Frank Kern event, and Garrett was there. And obviously, I was a Kajabi customer. I had said hi to him. We exchanged phone numbers at that point. We talked for a little bit. And then I eventually called him. And it's funny, I have a picture of Garrett back then when he had the red Wake Up Warrior shirt.
Yeah, the orange.
Spiky hair. He had fake glasses on. It's not the Garrett of today.
No, it's the original. Dude, there's a lot of story around that orange jacket. But anyway, orange shirt.
So I got his cell phone number, and I called him a couple months later. Now, this is about 2012, 2013. I had been married for 15 years at this point, and it was coming to a head. It was starting to crash and burn. And I called Garrett, and for whatever reason, I just was super honest with all my shit, all my mistakes, all my problems, pornography, how I felt, depression, suicide, all kinds of shit. I was just stuck, and Garrett created this space that I had never had before in my life to just say, here's all my shit. And I remember on that call, he predicted my divorce. He predicted me getting remarried one day. He just made all these bold statements, almost like to breathe thoughts in my head. What if you could have more? And it really scared the shit out of me. Like, no, dude, no, that's not going to happen. And within 6 months, I was divorced, and I made just a shit ton of mistakes, and my marriage crashed and burned. And then as we roll forward, I'm coming out of the divorce. It's now 2015, and I could just feel it inside that I need to go to a Warrior Week event. And at that point, it was Warrior Week 22. It had been around 21 other times. And I'm like, I got to go. And that was my first experience. I went there. I met amazing brothers. A lot of them have been on this podcast.
Yeah.
Those men are my best friends to this day. And it just was the beginning of me digging into a place I ignored my whole life.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you coming in, well, you did two things that maybe you were aware of. One of them, the other one you may not be aware of. The first thing is the software and the platform and the system and the application and the broadcasting and the messaging tool that you fucking created from scratch. Like your thought process of putting your efforts and your ideas and then transforming that into a business so that people like Warrior, people like me, people like any other of your customers can come and have a venue to deliver their message.
Yeah.
There was a vision. The vision was, how can I help people express themselves?
Yeah.
And in today's world, expressing yourself doesn't necessarily have to be flying all across the board, leaving your family behind, and go and speak on a stage or at an opportunity and then come back.
Yep.
There was a possibility for people to speak to their audience while they were sleeping. And you've created that. You've created a venue that brought this message in a easy, accessible way and re-accessible way, right? And that's why the libraries of Kajabi was created. You founded the heart of Kajabi, which was, I'm going to help and serve people.
Yep.
Around that, you build technology and you use your skills to create the software. And we adopt that. We take that and we train, and up to date, we train the men that come in using your tools and your system, and they watch the videos, they do their homeworks. It's an online course, but it's more than that. It's an experience. You will allowed us to create the digital and online experience that in the past we only had as part of Warrior Week, and what you experience. So that's one thing you did. Second thing that you did for us is that you changed the course of Warrior forever when you decided to go and sign the fucking paper at check-in at Warrior Week 22.
Wait, that was my fault?
Yeah, so the papers were outside. The pens were the paper was outside. It was some sort of fucking agreement. They were all outside with the pen. You didn't get the instruction to go and sign. So you went on your own. You distributed the fucking pen and you started like filling it up and
That's right.
And you paid the price for that.
We did.
And every single other man that has came into Warrior Week after 22 has paid the price. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about at check-in. You can all send a postcard to Travis Ross and thank him for that, because he created that standard by doing that.
So before then, check-in was just normal. It wasn't chaotic, pain, and like.
Who said it's chaotic and pain?
Well, I'm not going to say what it is, but I can say what happened back then. Right?
Yeah, you can say what
Garrett
happened.
White comes out and he says, "You weren't supposed to fucking meet me right now." And, because Garrett has it very planned out. You don't see him till later how that it was set up back then. And next thing you know, we're doing planks on the sidewalk on
in
PC,
public
in Laguna Beach. There's tourists walking over our backs,
dodging you.
Dodging
Like,
us.
That's okay. You can walk around him.
And we're just in this position. We just met each other. Kevin Vazang's next to me, sweat's dripping off of his nose on the sidewalk, and he's like, ah. All of us are just dying.
And all you had to do was not sign that. Like, we had a completely different evening planned out.
Really?
And so things change. And things change, and they become the new game.
Yeah.
Now the new game is that. Whatever that you created. So that's a gift that you've given to almost 300 plus men that came into Warrior Week after you.
Yep, and I got to experience the gift also. So it's not like I gave it without receiving it.
All right. So then you come to 22, right? You have a change of perspective on the marriage that didn't work, and we're going to come back to that, right? Yeah. Often we borrow terms and terminologies that are so common out there that when it comes to divorce, my marriage burned down to the ground.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit. It just paints a 50-50%. I fucked up, she fucked up, whatever. That's all it does. But we're gonna break that down, because Kevin was also here and we broke that down. Often we carry a shame and guilt as guys that we don't have to.
Yeah.
That we don't have to. I mean, if you were in a sexless marriage, if you were in a relationship that had no fucking emotion, then what? There are two options. One is that you start training that person and leading that person towards what you want. And if that doesn't happen, you separate. But if you choose to accept it and tolerate it, then it becomes the training ground for that person to say it's okay to be this way, which is not okay.
Yeah.
And so in this conversation, Maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 10-20. It doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah.
What it matters is that the blame cannot be taken on guys only at this point.
Yep.
It's the nature of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the nature of the game. Like, yeah, I can take the blame on this fact that I didn't lead my fucking wife. Yeah, I was the king of the castle and I fucked up the entire kingdom because I acted like a fucking peasant. Fine, I can own that.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I am 100% responsible for I'm going to lead, which was this marriage.
Yep.
And if I couldn't lead that person, I just had to let him go. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's that we drag the person, forcing them.
I did. I stayed longer than I should have. I grew up in a very Christian religious home,
Yep.
and so I thought for sure I had to stay.
Yes.
Which eventually made me very suicidal. Only in my thoughts. I never went anywhere beyond just imagining death. There's we lived on the edge of a canyon, and I remember I used to imagine walking out there and just throwing myself over the edge of that thing and just landing in it until I died.
So let's talk about that, okay?
Okay.
Because that's not something that naturally we would think about. Like, go back before thinking like that.
Yeah.
Go in your childhood or going were you ever in a place where you would actually go there?
No, not really. I mean, I had big hopes for life. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a struggle as a kid.
Sure.
I don't know if you knew, but I stuttered my entire childhood.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, from 10 until about 18, I could not talk. And if I did talk, it was really embarrassing.
Sure.
So during that time, I did develop that hopeless, I also developed a lot of strength to handle a lot of shit back then. But it's funny, I did revert back to that feeling of this is my life. This is how it's always going to be. What can I do about it? I didn't ever stop to think, wait, I could stand up and say, this is what I want. Like you were saying, the first step is I should have been here's what I want in a marriage. Now, 15 years in is a little late to establish that foundation.
100%.
Yeah, but with a lot of people, and not a lot of people, there's chances that people would go, okay, and they could shift the ship. But I never did. I never said what I wanted.
So, I had a conversation today with a guy that wanted to come to Warrior Week, or at least was thinking about it. And so he's been with his wife for 9 years. And his story is I'm not attracted to my wife anymore. I don't know. I don't know. I'm fucking miserable in this marriage. We don't have sex and blah, 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 right? And so then I find out that he's been cheating 5 years, cheating in, prostitutes, porn, or whatever that is. It really doesn't matter what the fuck he does. Is energetically, he's putting the energy that he should be investing into his woman somewhere else, whether it's porn or somewhere else. Dude, it's not about you're watching porn and you're not watching porn. It's not about that at all. It's a fundamental conversation of here's an energy, let's say 100% of it. If you release 40% of that somewhere else, then you only have 60% to give.
That's right.
That's right. That's all.
Yeah.
So if for 5 years you're still with your wife and you're actually putting 40% elsewhere, then 60% goes to her.
Yep.
And that 60% is what you have. So his thing was hey man, I was going somewhere else because I was I'm not getting sex at home. And I asked him, so what happened initially when you guys met? Well, he goes, well, she was a little bit timid or whatever, and she was the nice girl, and she wasn't doing certain things. So I asked again, what exactly she was not doing? Oral sex, certain positions she was not doing. I asked again. I said, what? Because she didn't like it? Or she was traumatized by it, or she was playing around and wanted you to show her. She goes, no, she was just she would say, no, I don't like it type of thing, right? She would dismiss it. I said, what did you do? He said, nothing. I kind of accepted it, right? I said, okay, so you didn't do anything. You didn't say anything. And if you even said something, it was in a matter of fights and shit like that. But eventually you learn not to talk about it. It becomes unspoken.
You just bury that part of
yourself.
yourself.
So you have a sex every 2 months and it's missionary and there's no connection.
Nope.
And just to say that, okay, we did it at least every 2 months, right?
Yep.
And that becomes the standard that you create for that.
I used to dread that. I'm oh crap, it's been 6 months, we should have sex.
Yeah.
My story is, back when I was a teenager, and I just heard a joke about this recently about how way back when we were younger, you would find porn, behind a bush or in a dumpster. Now kids find it on the internet. But
hold on a second, man. Hold on. Let's clarify that.
Let's clarify.
Okay. Back in the days, if you find fucking porn behind the bush, it was like finding gold.
Oh, it was.
Dude, you would find it, I agree, because I personally fucking found it.
Yep.
Because we would just fucking bury it in the woods, right?
Well, yeah, someone would probably get caught and dump it,
Bury
or
it.
feel bad and they would dump it, or they would just hide it.
Yeah, dude, we would find. and
Always.
I'm talking about like 4 feet of snow. I was when I was in Canada, and that shit would
You're
still,
like a bloodhound.
dude. That shit would still survive.
Oh, I know. I know
So-
it does.
So there was 3 parts of this. First part, if you get lucky. Then if you were not lucky, you had to go create. You had to become creative. So you would draw some shit. Like you would draw like the shape of a woman, and like you would use your drawing skill, as shitty as they may be.
Yes.
You would like maybe a sticky man or a sticky woman or whatever. I don't know if it was a
Oh,
man.
man,
but,
I can still draw a nice pair of boobs and...
but then you would take that as your material.
yes.
So, and then the third part of this was, okay, the drawing kind of became boring. Finding it in the bush was like, hey, if you get lucky. The third part of this is what bra ads in the
Oh,
magazine.
yeah, totally. Sears catalog.
Yeah, and just cut them up.
Or-
eBay.
What was even better is back then you only had a couple like TV channels, and then there'd be like the one channel that wasn't scrambled or whatever. I used to try to watch that channel to see if there's a boob. Oh wait, what is that? Is that an arm?
Imagine this shape.
Yeah, you just imagine it.
So that's the content that we had.
That's right. It's a little different now.
But today, yeah, you're right. So accessible. So to
accessible.
a point,
Yeah.
you like being an adult, you were exposed to just the ease of access.
Yeah, eventually, yeah, definitely. But here's the thing: I saw it as a lot of kids do, just like you were saying. I went to it, obviously. I had that time where I was just struggling as a teenager, so I was masturbating, looking at porn all the time.
Yeah.
And I carried a lot of guilt from that. And I thought, oh man, I'm just not a good person. I'm not ever gonna, really find happiness in life when it comes to women. So I dated. There was people I dated. There was people I slept with. Then I eventually, get married at 25.
Mm-hmm.
And she had never been with anybody else, and it was not good. And I carried a ton of guilt at this point because now I'm like, fuck, I did this.
Mm-hmm.
I put all this shit in my head, and now I'm never going to enjoy being with a woman. Even though I could think back to dating and be like, oh yeah, that was really good. That was pretty good. But this was the story, and I'm like, this is my life sentence now, is I'm going to be in this sexless marriage. And I tried. I remember even being sick to my stomach on my honeymoon because we had done it once. I'm like, crap, we got to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't there. And I didn't know, first of all, how to ask. This is what I wanted. I have no idea back then if we could have like turned the ship another direction. Most likely I should have had these conversations while I was dating and really understood, are we sexually compatible? Like my wife now, because I got remarried, we talk about this. Our sexual compatibility, super important. I never thought about that back then.
Super important to say to each other what you want.
That's right.
Listen, this is what I want.
Yes.
This is what I like. This is what, and don't hold back.
That's right.
Because if you're not open to talk about that, then what becomes unspoken will follow with a series of feeling that for years will become unspoken.
Yes, that's what happened. So now I get married, and I'm very religious, very church oriented. So there's no way I'm getting divorced. There's no way. So after a couple years, I have my first son, Kyle. Awesome kid. Love it. Having a kid brought this new kind of thing to the family dynamic.
Yeah.
And now this little boy loves me, and I'm his hero. And I would just kind of forget that we never had sex. But I would, now at this point, porn is everywhere. It's on my phone. It's on my laptop. I'm in the bathroom every time I get a chance, to look at it and release myself.
Yeah.
But now the guilt is growing, and the guilt is growing to the point she eventually accused me. She's like, are you gay? Because you never want to have sex. And I remember lying in bed thinking, I'm the opposite of gay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this all the time. And at that moment, I told her, I'm looking at porn all the time. And she freaks out. We go to counseling. She tells the counselor, like I'm the only guy that's ever looked at porn. And I eventually went to a Celebrate Recovery group. I thought I was addicted to pornography.
More guilt.
More guilt. So I spent years trying to figure out what that was and why I was hooked to that. I never thought, well, maybe it's because I didn't have that in my marriage. I thought something was wrong with me for years. I mean, years and years, until just before I came to Warrior.
What did that counselor say when she said you were the only one?
No, she didn't say I was the only one. They were just acting as if I was the only one.
The counselor too?
No, here's what the counselor did. She sent me to another. She's like, you need to go to a man. And then that person's, my ex stayed with that lady. And then that counselor was the guy who was like, you should go try Celebrate Recovery. And actually, Celebrate Recovery was pretty amazing. I learned a lot of things about myself.
Sure.
About God, about really asking for more in my life, which I think eventually led me to the freedom and confidence in 2009 to build Kajabi.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I was this man that was crashing and burning in his cubicle, overweight, a zombie driving to work every day, zombie at T-ball games, a zombie in my house, zombie in the suburbs, living in my shoebox home here in Southern California, and just going through the motions.
So, if what Trevor's talking about, if this is painting an image for you, and perhaps maybe you listening or watching to the show, you find yourself in the story. You find yourself being that guy that is describing, being that guy that is in a sexless marriage, being that guy that is not connected emotionally with his wife. Or maybe you're not entirely that guy, but you can actually recall period of times when you were that guy. And in and out of it, you go and come back. The reason why we share this is so that we have actually going to talk about a blueprint and path of getting out of the cycle. Like you said, it's a story. Like the church, God, the conversation of God should not come in and interrupt a natural process, which is a woman and a man.
Yeah.
A woman and God created man and woman.
That's right.
God created sex. God created shit. God created piss. So humans start putting shame and guilt around all
That's
this. Right. Oh, if you have shit on your ass, then you're probably a dirty guy. Now, I get it. If you probably have shit on your ass and you're listening to the podcast, you probably need to go wipe your ass. But the example is easy, is that shit, piss, blood, sex, it's part of life.
Yeah.
It's part of, and we as human, we create these standards, the human standards, and we say, here's human standards that we need to operate by in order to be compliant with the standard of God's. Can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to be compliant with the standard of God, so we're going to create human standards that are going to be compliant with standards of God.
That's right.
In a way, we're saying we're God. So we're going to create these standards.
Yeah, because we can't imagine God. We can't really imagine him, so I'm only going to set him to what I can imagine in life. And that is, I better control you.
Yes.
I better find ways to control you, and guilt is the easiest way to control someone.
Guilt is the easiest, and you felt it for so many years.
Oh, my whole life.
And it's not that you looking at porn, it's not that was wrong. You spending your energy in that place was not helping your marriage.
That's right.
If that 40%, 50% of energy would have been conserved and it would be put into education of sex, into leading your wife to become sexual.
That's right.
And trying all the ways. And this was my conversation with the guy. I said, dude, like, you have two options at this fucking point. Option number one is to go to war for your wife and build a fucking life with her.
Yep.
Because you haven't gone to fucking war. And everything that you've done, you've attempted alone. You operated alone, and the results are you're on this fucking call. Yep. And things are fucking broken. Or you go to war with the idea of not being with this woman. Divorce her, be separate, go on your own path. Either case, there's a war.
Yep. It's only two choices.
The place you die is in the middle. The gray zone.
Yeah.
So you might as well take a fucking gun and put it in your hand and blow your fucking mind up, because it's a slow death. It's death by paper cut. And you put yourself in that place. That's exactly what we're talking about when you talk suicide and when we talk about this. You were the guy in the middle.
Because I wasn't going to do anything about it. It's the worst.
Paralyzed.
Yep.
Imprisoned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just cornered.
Mm-hmm.
The only option is, how about if I end this so I don't...
No, the thing that I held on is like, shit, that means my kids won't have their dad anymore. I finally came to the point where I'll get out and have the stain of divorce on my life, but at least I'll still be here for my kids.
Yeah.
That was the kind of, like, in Warrior.
The light.
Yeah, the light. It's like you talk about in Warrior, it's completely dark and there's like one star in the sky. That was the light.
That was the light.
That was the light that started
But it took
heading.
tremendous amount of courage for you to take
and
that
because
stance.
I didn't fight, it took a lot of mistakes to get to there too. I fell on my way into the pit and then dug my way back out. Instead of standing up and hitting that war head on, I could have done that.
Yeah, you stayed in between the wars, the safe zone for years, hoping that somebody else will come fucking fight the war for you.
That's very true.
And but the minute you took the stand and you took the courage to say, this is it, I must get out.
Yeah.
And I saw the light, which is my kids. I'm going to be a dad for my kids. I'm not going to be a dead fucking man for the kids.
That's right. And that was one thing is like, I wanted to be an example to them to say, hey, it's important for you to understand what you want and not just to put that all in the closet and just push away. Because I don't think that's why God created us. No. I don't think there's so many stories of redemption and love and forgiveness in all religions if God wants us to live in these guilt. Like in Warrior, we call it shilt, shame and guilt. And I had so much of that. It still tries to creep up on me all the time.
And it's beautiful. Like one of the most beautiful gifts of God is the gift of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that washes away the guilt and shame. But I want to make a fucking distinction in this. True forgiveness, it's not a fucking pattern and routine. You don't fucking, lie and cheat and steal all week so that Sunday you come and you wash it off.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, let me lie to everyone. Let me screw as many as people I can. Let me not serve anyone. And let me be very fucking selfish all week. So on Sunday, I can confess I was an asshole, and off we go. I repeat it again. So confession becomes my path to, like, my ticket to do it again next week.
That's very true. Yep.
That's not forgiveness. But true forgiveness is actually healing to the guy that is forgiving, and the person that is receiving it.
And you're changing directions.
It's
you're not following the same road anymore.
Dude, you said it perfectly.
Yeah.
When you forgive something or someone, the direction changes.
Yeah.
That means if you've actually, if something's happening and like whatever, you go in a confession room, and you're forgiven, you shouldn't be back in that room for years.
That's true.
Because your fucking direction changed.
That's right. And if you're back, it's because you're working on something new.
Something new, but not for that topic. But most people are addicted to the people. Most people are addicted to the praise, to the recognition.
Yeah, just the pattern of that. I remember I used to take it as a badge of honor when people would say, because my ex would get very mad, and they're like, "How? Well, you're an angel. I don't know how you put up with that." I'm like,
praise.
"Oh, well, thank you." Yeah. Which was bullshit. I would much rather have people say, "Wow, you guys have an incredible marriage. You guys are best friends."
You live for that praise.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm in a shit show, but at least people see it. I'm in a shit show. That's pretty good.
It's so dumb.
Hey, thank you for recognizing that.
Well, and that's the thing is that marriage, the life I came with before was all plastic Christianity. Go to church Sunday morning, everything's perfect. Kids look perfect. And I do have two awesome boys, so they fit the role really well. And my ex came from a perfect Orange County family, and that was the role we played. Every day, every week we'd go to church, then we were in a small group during the week, and we would have nothing to like talk about. I remember at the end of the marriage, I'd finally be honest with that group of couples and just say it's falling apart. Like, it's falling apart. And then I'd get in the car later, and she'd like hit me. She's like, "Why did you tell him all those things?" I'm like, "Well, because it's true." Mm-hmm. And but it wasn't set up for me to share that. Mm-hmm. Like, I couldn't say, "I'm here and I don't want to be here anymore." Like, I'm stuck in this pit and I had no fucking clue how to get out. So I lit my pit on fire back then and just made all kinds of mistakes. And that's why I call it crash and burning, because I didn't stand up and say I want a divorce. I fucked up a lot first. And
what you call fucked up may simply be the price of operating alone.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, I didn't have any brothers around me. Nobody with honest.
Nobody that would tell you, no, go to war.
Yeah.
Or fuck off.
Well, nobody would tell me it's okay to get divorced.
Yeah. Everybody would tell you that.
Huge.
Everybody would praise you that you tolerate this shit.
I know.
You must be a fucking angel.
I remember I had to tell my parents. My parents have been married 50 years.
Yeah.
I've got to tell them that I'm getting divorced. And I call them, and I talk to them on the phone, and then both of them at the same time. Then I talk to just my dad, and my dad says, well, you lasted longer than I would have. And I'm like, Dad, what? Why didn't you tell me? Like, but there was an out. Like, I had no idea that I couldn't just get divorced. That was not in my head. It just wasn't a reality at all.
You know, one of the other problem is, and this is not just in Christianity, it's happening it's happening, in fact, more in the Muslim community, and like there is no fucking education around sex, right? There is no education. There's no conversation.
Yeah.
It's seen as something that, don't ever talk about it. So the worse, the more you restrict it, the worse it will become.
That's right. This is something my wife and I talk about now because I have a 14-year-old about making sure he doesn't feel shame.
Sure.
Because he sees it all the time, and I know his mom's talking shame all the time, and I have to be careful because I still think about it as shame, but in my new marriage, I don't. I mean, pornography is pornography. Sex is sex.
Listen, bro, here's the reality. We are exposed to it. Like, as we speak, your 14-year-old, my 8-year-old, they're both exposed to that.
Yeah.
And it is impossible, no matter how much you block the YouTube and this and that, and it is impossible to put a filter around it. If they want to see it, they're going to fucking see it.
That's
period.
True. Yep.
And so you might as well just talk about it.
Yep.
Right?
Honesty.
I mean, an ass is an ass. A dick is a dick. A pussy is a pussy. But inside of that, you can find the language to talk about that.
Yep.
And you can actually describe, the way of communication.
Yep.
But the way of communication should not ignore the natural process of man and woman being together.
Yeah. I mean, God made us this way. God made us to be attracted to stuff that is sexual.
Dude, think about when you were fucking 14.
Yeah.
I was 14.
Yeah.
Like, we were interested in girls.
Yeah.
We would fix our hair. We would we were in it.
Yep. You want to hear a funny story about me? My dad was a football coach and baseball coach at my high school, so he was also the health ed teacher.
Yeah.
Which means he taught sex education.
Yeah.
And so I never dated anybody from my own high school because all the girls had my dad in sex education.
So you were locked out of that.
I dated girls from other schools, but I remember back then. It brings back bad memories.
But inside of that, the point is the following. The point is that people don't talk about this shit.
They don't, and it's important to talk about it with like my son, so that he knows one day you are going to meet a woman. And if you don't keep all this shit hidden, how are you going to know what you're looking for? How are you going to know that you like this or you're attracted to that? Like that's the thing now is, I got remarried after going to Warrior. I spent time thinking, what am I looking for in a woman? And as I got to know my now wife, Paola, like, I was so open and honest with her. She knows everything about me. She knows that I've looked at porn. She knows what I'm attracted to. She knows what turns me on. I know what turns her on. Like,
you have nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide.
Yeah.
And everything is a conversation. Sometimes it may turn into an argument, whatever the fuck that is. But everything is on the table.
Yes.
This is what you see. You get what you see.
Yep.
The good, the bad, the ugly, the amazing part of it, all of it is there.
Yep.
Like, your totality is what have you guys connected.
Yeah.
And I met your wife, beautiful wife, and an awesome person, personality-wise, which is like a perfect blend for you, right?
Yeah, she's amazing.
Because you bounce on each other, and like it's a partner.
Yeah.
It's a partner to build.
Well, and fast forward now, here it is, 2018, married again. Sure, I want to look at porn, but like you said before, I don't want to invest my time in that.
Yep.
I would rather invest my time in her.
Yeah, it's all about the energy, man.
Because I know I can go waste my time on that, and, we'll talk about it. She might just disappoint it. She might be like, no big deal, who cares? But I'd rather focus on her and become more attracted to her.
Period. It's where you put your energy, right? Yep. And so the whole conversation of Warrior inside of dating your wife, spending time with your wife, changing the patterns and behaviors, and stop your fucking assumption that somehow, somewhere, your wife is okay. Like, buying flowers is just not going to fucking do it.
No.
I mean, you bought flowers for fucking 20 years, bro. So, like, what else have you done? Oh, you went on vacation? Good job.
Well, I mean, what if you started talking about this stuff and she wanted to talk about it too?
Right.
Because especially if you have a marriage where you were in love and there was a time where sex was good, you can go back there.
For sure.
I know you can go back there by communicating, being honest, opening up to, hey, we don't ever do this anymore.
You have to be comfortable. But there's a lot of guys that are not even comfortable talking to their own wife about this topic. They talk about everything else.
That's true.
But when it comes to that, it's like,
I know.
Kind of don't want to. It's like they don't want to hear what they have to say, because if they say something, then they might reveal them that, oh shit, I didn't know my wife was like that.
Yeah.
So there's fear.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's fear both ways of what they could hear and what they say could have an impact. And at the end of the day, man, I mean, if this becomes unspoken, other feeling arises around it. So you come to 22, you go through that experience, you're fresh out of like divorce almost. Talk to us what happened ever since, and then your recent experience here in 43, why you came into 43.
So after getting divorced, I tried dating. I made a lot of unhealthy decisions about who I was dating, and I was dating the wrong person, and I was just ignoring it and being really dishonest with myself if that was the right person, until finally I went on a double date with my good friend from 22, Nick Long, and he points out, he's like, yeah, this is not the girl for you. And so I spent time, I broke up with her, cleaned that up, and then I came back we had convention in December.
Mm-hmm.
And now the focus was like, okay, what do I want in a wife? Like, what do I truly want?
In a woman, yeah.
In a woman. What am I looking for? And I remember Russ Perry had an event where he had this thing called the decision-making funnel. And it's like, if you need to make a big decision, really write down what you want. And so that day I started writing down stuff like, I love her smile. I love the way she looks in tight jeans. She likes football. She likes my little small hometown. She likes my boys. Like 72 items. And there was something about that started giving me this clarity. Like, here's what I hope to find one day. And the crazy thing, Paola was right under my nose. She was my property manager for Kajabi. I didn't even know that I knew she was there, but I didn't realize how attracted I was to her. So I asked her out, and we got on a date, and in fact, she turned me down the first time I asked her out. But we go out, and literally that relationship has turned into something incredible. Within a year, we were married, and just radically changed my life.
So you had a list of 72 items,
yes,
right? And I'm gonna have you consider that none of that shit matter. Like, no. You're not gonna find a list. There is one thing that acts as the glue between two people, and specifically in women, right? What we want, what guys want in women, and at the end of fucking day, we want kindness. The minute we hit kindness, when you marry a kind woman, it's a done fucking deal.
Yeah.
We become a servant to that wife.
Yeah.
Most people marry someone that is not kind because they don't get the time to know them.
That's true. Or they think that's how it should be.
Yep.
With my ex-wife, she not being kind would be a way to describe her. And I just thought that's how people were. I allowed so much dysfunction in my life over the years of people that just were not good for me.
We don't experience kindness as often that we should in today's world, and when we do, is when we fall in love.
Yeah,
and that's what happened with Paola.
Totally. The only thing the 72 items did was it allowed me to really express, here's what I want, almost like here's my puzzle piece. Yes. And which person fits into that puzzle piece.
Which doesn't mean shit at all, because even if, like, it doesn't matter what the fuck you want, is what the man upstairs wants.
This is very true. That's all it is.
I mean, that's all it is. This woman was a diamond.
Yes.
And she was in front of you for years.
Yes, years.
For years, she was in and out. There's this diamond.
Right under my nose.
And you keep looking at all the fucking coils around.
Yeah.
Except, all along, you were looking for this diamond, and it was right in front of your eyes.
It was.
This is not a fucking coincidence. Fuck your list and everything else that you wrote, and all the Russ Perry and everybody else with it. This was truly, what it was truly like, dude, you felt the kindness.
Yeah.
Before you would even look at her physically, you felt the kindness.
Oh, I was drawn to her. I couldn't. It was crazy.
And you know what that kindness is called? Specifically in women? It's called the feminine charm. Yeah. And that, my friend, is powerful.
Yeah.
Most men are brought down to their knees by the power of the feminine charge. Look at fucking history, Cleopatra, whatever. You can just look at the most powerful men, how they were brought to their knees by the feminine charge. Not in a manipulative way, but I'm saying it's very powerful.
Yeah.
I find that in my wife. And that's the glue between us for almost like 23 years. Like, that's what glued us together. Her kindness. And her kindness pours into mine, and I become more kind because of her.
Yeah.
And this, it's like one blood. It's circulating.
Well, it's love.
It's love.
Yeah.
It's love. But if the kindness is not there initially, not because your ex-wife wasn't kind, not because, like, no one knew what the definition of kindness is, like you said, to your point. So,
and I think people bring out the kindness in people. My ex-wife may find someone that they'll get on the same wavelength, and the kindness will come out.
Kindness come out.
But I know that when I met Paola, like, I was just drawn to her. It's like that energy you could feel, even when I knew her for 2 years before I asked her out, and I would just be in meetings and I'd just be drawn to her personality, her jokes, everything.
So life is good, everything works out, and then you come to
I come back.
Warrior Week 43. There's a piece in the puzzles of your needs.
Yeah.
There is a piece that is missing.
Yeah.
And so what was that? What you had to face for that? And what did you learn about yourself? Because, like, you really went under the microscope to study yourself once again.
Yeah. So after getting married to Pei, that has been an incredible addition to my life. I'm so grateful to that. I'm grateful to Warrior for help getting me to that point. But there was a point after that, and then I'd finished all my challenges. I didn't go on to do certified trainer, and I just kind of, I don't want to say I dropped out of Warrior, but I just wasn't living it every single day. And I started to notice that I just didn't have that daily power, that daily clarity. I couldn't hear the voice anymore. I had made decisions within my business where I wasn't giving myself permission to accept the greatness that I had created. So I bring in other people to help work on stuff at Kajabi. I would allow my business partner to have even more control. And before you know it, I kind of pushed myself out of my own kingdom that I helped create. And all of a sudden I'm on the outside of it. And I think at that point, I talk to you all the time. You're like, you probably should come back. Yeah, I think you should come back. And at this point, Warrior has ramped up since 22. It's a whole new experience. It's incredible. And it's just nothing like it was back then. I mean, it was like, geez, I can't even say. It's like a senior tour, and now it's like Navy SEAL and God come together. It's incredible. And so at New Year's Eve this last year, I've been stressed about business and didn't know how I was going to lead and how I was going to come back into that. And I'm at my wife's sister's house, and I have like almost like a nervous breakdown. They're having a karaoke party, and I'm just mentally starting to shut down. Like I'm kind of becoming like a zombie. I'm just thinking. I probably had a couple drinks at that point, which made me kind of crash a little bit more. And I was just and I started feeling the same suicidal thoughts I had back when I was married before. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in an extremely happy marriage now. What the fuck's going on? And it was because I was starting to feel trapped. And because I was sedating at this point, just spending time with my wife became sedation. Yeah. And I was ignoring the thing I had to take action on. And I was like, fuck. And literally within a week, I had dinner with Nick Long. Actually, Nick reached out to me, hey, you free tonight? I went and had dinner. Told him what's going on. That same night, Kevin Vazang, he had heard there was an opening. And he's like, tell Travis to call me right away. And at that point, I knew in my heart I had to come back. I could feel the voice drawing me back. And I think I had reached out to you, talked to Kevin, I signed up, and I think January 21st, I'm back in Warrior again. And I had been scared to come back because it sounded like it had gotten so intense. And I'm just like, wow, I'm not man enough for that. But by the time the voice got me, I was ready. I wasn't scared at all. I mean, I was a little scared, but I was ready to come back and just figure this out once and for all. What is this thing in me that won't give myself permission to be a badass? Like, as soon as I become a badass, I kind of discount myself and like, oh yeah, oh shucks. Fuck that. I don't want to do that anymore.
Fuck that is right. So we look back, you became badass in creating Kajabi and creating this venue of service to so many other fucking people. Like, the impact that you have because of your creation on so many other families here in Warrior specifically, and then take it outside to all the other clients today that are using that venue to help others, right? So that's something that's a fuck yeah moment, right? And Your marriage, you're in a fuck yeah moment because you own that. You own that, and you are living life.
Yeah.
And then you feel the same fucking thoughts.
Yeah.
And inside of that, what has happened with the business and the distance that you felt in day-to-day operation, here's what I'm going to have you consider, is that you will feel that way every time that you feel that you are being violated, like a feeling of violation, like feeling of even in your marriage, in the past marriage of 15 years, it was a feeling of abuse and violation. I'm simply being fucking abused and cornered, and I'm being violated. My manhood is being fucking violated by not having enough fucking sex. It's fucking difficult, right? So that feeling. Then now, another violation, which your creation now is being violated.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with fucking business.
It's my passion.
It has nothing to do with money, legality. Fuck all that.
Oh.
It has to do with your passion.
Yep.
It has to do with the purpose that you had behind it, and the love that you had for your creation, and you still have. When you feel that violated, that's the feeling that comes back again. It's like this fog of thoughts that says, I'm violated once again, and the only thing I can think about is these thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's what you had to discover at Warrior Week. Like really to come in and go look for the problem behind the problem.
Yeah.
Because this is taking place now for it's almost like second time in your life.
Second time big, yeah, during my adult life for sure. Stuttering as a kid was similar, where I just was stuck. And I think the pit analogy is what it is. It's a pit that's so deep that you can't see a way out anymore. And so you start becoming hopeless. Because if you don't have anything to look forward to, or that next step, or what you should do next, you become hopeless.
So you didn't become hopeless in love. You found love because of your heart. And you're not hopeless in your creation, in your business, because in your heart there's creation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's one thing that Travis Rosser will do is that you'll fucking continue to create.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not a consumer. You're a creator. You create. You produce. We've seen it over and over.
Yeah.
You got a book coming up.
I do.
You created that book.
Yep.
And you told the story of Kajabi.
Yep.
You want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, it's called You Inc., like You Incorporated. And the idea is I'm telling the story of these customers that have come through Kajabi and have shared something about their life and either created a business out of it, or they're helping people like Garrett and Warrior. Even though it is a business, it's ultimately liberating men.
Yeah.
The crazy thing, Nick Long pointed this out one time. I create Kajabi. Garrett creates Warrior. He uses Kajabi to get the message out, which then eventually makes its way back to me, and then it liberates me. So by creating my business and then Garrett following his business, we both liberated each other and gave each other this freedom. So that's what my book is about digging into yourself, finding the business inside of you. And I talk about the 4 Ps. It's your profession. So what are you good at? You're an accountant, you're whatever, carpenter, whatever. Let me see here. Your profession, your passion. This is your hobbies, what you love, golf, whatever it is. Pain, going through a divorce, something super difficult, people with back pain, that happens. And then a problem, like how to fix something that's broken. And people have basically dug deep into those areas of their lives, and they will uncover a nugget. Just like me realizing Pale is right there under my nose. Like there's a business right under us, or this passion, this purpose that we can go help other people, and that's what the book's about.
I think the book is also, I don't think the book is all just another book. I think the book is a letter of celebration. That's how I like to put it.
Sure.
Celebrating your accomplishments, celebrating like it's a fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's one thing to create software and system. There's one thing to create even platforms or any type of infrastructure, and then there's another thing to create a book. All these you can just put them under products, right? But the purpose behind them, which is this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
That is worth celebrating over and over and over and over, because there are people right now that are running the business, that are running businesses similar to yours, that are running businesses bigger than yours and I, and that are miserable
Yeah.
in running it because they don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Other than I'm having a comfortable life, other than I have money. So I do this for money because money can get me tools, can get me toys, can give me house, cars, and can give me. So I guess that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There is a difference between that guy and a guy that knows every single day why he's doing what he's doing.
Yep.
And money, in both cases, is completely seen differently.
It's true.
In one case, the guy that knows his purpose, money is seen as what can I do with this money to even grow my purpose bigger.
That's right. Help more
On the
people.
other side is, okay, what can I invest in? Oh, I can maybe buy more buildings. For what?
To get more money.
Get more money.
Yep.
On one side, it's simply get more money, but for what? Why do you want more money? Well, because I want to secure my wealth. Why? Well, because I want to have generations that could get my money legacy, right? I want to leave a legacy. Why? Well, I don't want them to go through any struggles. Okay, what else are you doing? Like, is that true? Is that true that if you leave money for the generation, for your kids and your parents, is that going to actually make him a better person?
No. It's actually proven the other way around. Those of us that come from struggle tend to be better well-rounded people. Like, I worry about my kids because they have everything they need. I grew up in a very simple middle-class life. I thought my parents were broke, and I was scared of money all the time. I was like, and part of the book talks about this. I was trying to figure out where did money come from? How did people make it?
To be able to explain to your sons
Yeah.
the purpose of what you do is the most beautiful thing that a father can do.
Yeah.
Because today I can sit down with my son and explain to him why we do Worry Weeks.
Yeah.
And he asked me, what is this Worry Week? Oh, Worry Week 50. Okay. Dad, what number Worry Week is going to stop? I don't know. But maybe you'll come to Worry Week 150. I don't know. What number you want to come in? So they understand the purpose
Yeah.
behind what dad does.
Yeah.
And that changes everything. Because making money, it's always going to be part of our game. We
Yeah.
have to produce for our families.
Sure.
But how many people are actually communicating the purpose of their life? You writing a book and explaining to your son why you wrote the book,
Yeah.
that's a purpose. Them knowing their dad wrote a book is like, fuck, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I go to this library and my dad has one book in there too. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that my 14-year-old did say that. I was like, Dad, you wrote a book? I was like, yeah. He's like, what?
It's huge.
It is, yeah.
It's huge. And so celebration, the letter of celebration is what the book is for you.
Yeah.
Like, it's time for you to own your creation.
Yeah.
Pain has been part of your story, there's no fucking doubt.
Yeah.
And years of pain.
Yeah.
And pain of being alone, and pain of acceptance and violation and tolerating.
Yeah.
And today, the possibility is within your hand. The possibility is within you feeling what you felt at that party. Like, you really felt, oh, what the I'm being dragged into the fucking pit.
Yeah.
And knowing that the pit is always there, but you have the light to come out of it.
Yeah.
And you found a light in your purpose. You found a light in fighting for what's yours, in fighting for what you created, in fighting what is your passion,
Yeah.
in fighting for the people that are waiting for Trevor to serve.
Yeah.
So after Worry Week, right?
Mm-hmm.
What changed for you after 43?
After 43, I realized I needed to fight for myself because I had made a lot of decisions in the past to avoid the conflict that was happening around me again, just like I was doing before in my marriage. And I chose, there were some things in business that I needed to stand up for and fight for myself. And I wasn't doing that before. I was almost just giving away control. No, you do it. You do it.
Yeah.
And that's completely changed. I am the only one that is going to build my own kingdom. I am the only one that's going to create this future that I can see in my head. And I can't depend on other people, business partners, wives, people. It's got to be me. I need to do that. something that was awesome that came out of 43 for me too, because when you said celebrate, I remember one of the evolutions, we had a rock and we drew a circle. We wrote down a word. And I love how you guys were trying to help us pull that word from our heart, not our head. And the word I pulled up in that situation was enjoy.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I have trouble enjoying life.
Well, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I just don't do it.
You're like, it's funny you mentioned that, because the other day I'm sitting around. In fact, I was having a conversation with Jess Yule, and I'm like, dude, what is joy? I'm like, okay, we can all define what joy is.
Yeah.
And the question that we ask is, okay, dude, when is the last time we actually experienced joy? Well, I guess it was a worry week at when the guys were graduating and they were getting on the stage and they were sharing. There was joy in my eyes, because I remember one of the guys, Brian Q. Davis, he mentioned that, Coach Sam, when I was looking at you, like, I experienced joy in your eyes during celebration, and that kind of always stuck with me. He private messaged me after, and he kind of opened my eyes to that. But that conversation last week opened my eyes to, like, how limited we allow ourselves to experience joy. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I experienced joy for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes out of that week, that was it.
Yeah.
So what else I need to do to enjoy and to experience joy? Not to make an event, but a process. How can I make joy a process in my life versus an event that happens once in a while?
Yeah. You need to be able to see joy in all things. That's something I thought about when I went back to 43.
Yeah.
Because it was hard. But I always tried to find those moments where I could just kind of, not that I enjoyed it, but just that moment of like, okay. Like I do it a lot. My wife and I go on hikes all the time.
Yeah.
And I used to do this hike and I'd pay attention, but I wouldn't. But lately I'm just like, just breathing and looking. And my wife will say the greatest things, like pointing out birds and things that we see. And I want to do that more, because otherwise life it's like we grind with our heads down and it just keeps going by.
So, and when you do that in those hikes, you can teach more.
Yeah.
You can teach more to your sons, right? Rather than just walking in silent.
Yep.
Now you've talked about the birds, the trees, and everything else. It's like you are sharing that joy. Right? Joy gets multiplied.
Yep.
And pain gets shared. We heard that. Pain gets shared, and once your pain is shared, you just feel lighter. But your joy gets multiplied.
Because they're going to have trouble as sons experiencing joy too.
Yes. Yes.
Right now we do the general tense on Sundays, and one of the things is it's easy for me to think of a date night with my wife.
Yeah.
It's easy to think of a date night with my kids, but one of them is like, all right, plan a date with yourself.
So true.
And I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? Like I struggle with that one.
It's true. You know why that's so important? Because at the end of the day, the wife is beautiful, the kids are amazing, life is great, the brotherhood's great, people are awesome.
Yeah.
Some people are asshole, whatever. But inside of all that, like, you're the most important asset in your life.
Yeah, and I think that's what that question forces you to start seeking. What is it that I really enjoy?
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle with that. I'm like, I'll go for a ride on my mountain bike. Okay, that'll be one for this week. What now next week? What is the thing?
Just you. Just the time for yourself. Because sometimes as guys, as adults, like, not sometimes, actually once a week or whatever, we need that.
Yeah.
Like if you're the kind of guy that is not actually putting an hour for yourself a week, just an hour or two a week for yourself, dude, it's a matter of time that you fucking collapse, because your signals will shut down.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to grind and grind and grind and like a motherfucker through all this, but at the end of the day, you're going to collapse one day.
Yeah.
Because you matter. You as a dad, as a father, your energy is everything. So if it's not 100%, and guess what the people around you are getting?
Energy, that's good. My wife always says that. Like, I can feel your energy. The boys can feel your energy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? That's something I didn't notice before. Like,
when you wake up at 5 on Sundays and you accomplish some shit for yourself, and you come at home and you make breakfast at 7:30 and 8, you're a different guy.
Yep.
You're a different guy that if you would have slept through all the way to 7.
Yep.
Because you decided, it doesn't matter how early you wake up. I'm just giving an example. It's not the earliest you wake up that it defines it. It's the time that you put for yourself, the satisfaction that you get in that joy, moment of joy. So I've started doing that. Like, for me, it's a lot of activities. Like I just built activities, whether it's sports activities, whether it's some kind of fucking activity, but it's for me. I don't share it with anybody else.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do it with, like we go on hikes.
Yeah, we've gone on morning hikes. Those
That's
are great.
awesome. Like I mean, we do that, but at the end of the day, I'm responsible for scheduling because, I can't count on you to be there every day so we can go for a hike. And maybe you will, but then that's going to last a while, but then you get busy. So and you have to like schedule something for yourself.
That's right.
At least once a fucking week.
I know.
Because if we don't get that, then inside of that, like we're just going to get grinded, and we're not going to have anything to lift us up.
Yep.
It's been awesome to have you on the call.
Thank you.
If we're gonna end this in a little bit differently. What would Travis say to your boys 5-10 years from now? Like, let's say your boys run into this podcast.
Yeah.
5 years from now.
Yeah.
What message would you have for them?
Well, let's think. They're both different ages. So let's say Kyle would be 25 10 years from now. First thing I would say is don't get married too early, because that was about when I got married. Make sure you're following your dreams still. Don't give up no matter how many times you've failed, because at this point, he's 15. He's an incredible director. He directs his own YouTube movies.
I've seen that, some crazy
I know,
shit.
and he needs to keep going. Because just like I'm talking about him in 10 years, he's going to be shocked at himself in 10 years. I just heard that. Matthew McConaughey said the thing, who's his hero? It's himself in 10 years.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, I love that. And I really want, Kyle, if you're listening to this, like, think about where you are now. I mean, way back when you were doing these YouTubes, I'm assuming at this point you're in college or you finished college and you've been doing short movies, and just keep dreaming. Because the stuff I've accomplished as a kid who stuttered and grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere to be able to build a multi-million-dollar business, I can't imagine what he's going to be able to do. Connor is 10, so he'll be 20. His dream right now is to play in the NHL for the Ducks. And I would say for him, just keep joy. The kid always has joy in his life. And find that dream, whatever it is, and go after it. Because I don't want my boys to think they have to follow this roadmap. Go to school, go to church, get married, do this. It's like, no. If I could learn them how to teach them how to hear the voice and listen to whatever God wants them to do, whatever that is.
Beautiful. I would say to my son, Nikon would be 18. He's 8 now. I would say continue your inquiry in life. Continue to ask questions. Because inquiry is the way to end confusion. And the more you ask, the more you find out. Don't ever stop fucking questioning. That's my message to my boy 10 years from now. Don't ever fucking stop questioning. Always question. Thanks for being on the call. This was an awesome show, man.
Thank you. This has been fun.
If you liked anything inside of this conversation, whether you like it or don't, it doesn't matter. But if it had a fucking impact on you somehow, somewhere, you're responsible to forward this to another man. And if you didn't care for this podcast, you probably should not fucking listen to it another time. But if you actually care, and if it has had its slightest impact hearing another man's life, another man's story, do yourself a favor and find someone you can forward this to. You can find more about this podcast, the audio, the video, and as well as additional pictures and details of the Warrior Week podcast at warriorweeknow.com. Thanks for being with us.